Good morning, 19th of Shvat. Gadol Torah. Great is Torah, and particularly our Kaviyas Itim in Torah, because it brings refuah l'kol chai. It brings healing to all living things. Who needs a refuah?
There is from the fire Shmuel ben Devar Leah, Shmuel ben Merav, Hillel ben Hila, Baruch Yehuda ben Yehudas,
Refuah
and
shlema b'koreh mamash.
and then there's Yehudas Golda Basalita Hana, Chaim Yaakov ben Zachara, Yosef Yozak ben Leor, Shoshana Bas Hana, Gary Robert, son of George, Yaakov Shaul ben Hana Miriam, Yehudit Gila, Bas Rachalea.
They should have a refuah shlema, all of them. Tuvia ben Avram, Yair ben Adela, Mordechai Yehuda ben Chana, Yisrael ben Yomen ben Leah Gittel, Devor Leah bas Rusa Huva Liba, Rivka Mina bas Chaya Esther. Refuah shlema. Anybody else? The whole world needs a refuah shlema. Yom Yom, 19th of the month of Shvat. The first positive mitzvah in the words of the Rambam is to know that there is a first being who caused the existence of all beings. The knowledge of this principle is a positive command, as it is said, I am the eternal your God. This is the first commandment. It's a commandment, at least in English they call them the 10 commandments. Anoichi Hashem Elakecha. I am the eternal your God. It's a commandment to know that. And he explains now what it means to know that. So this is a mitzvah relating to the mind and the intellect, right? It's a function of mind and mindfulness. True, every one of Israel believes in God, but he doesn't say this here. There's a lot written in Chassidus, the difference between Amunah and Das, which is knowledge. And here we're going to focus on what is knowledge of God. Everybody believes in God with a simple faith, Emunah, and his heart is whole with God. Still, it is the duty of mind and intellect to bring this faith, this Emunah, to a level of knowledge and comprehension. This is the meaning of to know that there is a first being. Da, to know. That's how it says in Hebrew. Know that there is a first being. He should know it with comprehension and intellectual grasp. As written in Torah, know the God of your father and serve him with a whole heart. And it is also written, know this day. It's helpful, I think, to know that throughout Chassidus, the word das is translated in a way that brings it clearly that it's not just something of the mind. There are three factors that are always brought in Chassidus about what is das. One is hergish, that you have it in mind and you feel it. That's hergish. Secondly is hiskashrus, that you're tied to it. In other words, this is, das is the intermediary between mind and midos. And midos is generally the heart. So bring it down to the heart, tie it to the heart. And hakora, which is the third, they all begin with hey. Hargasha, hiskashrus, hakora, to recognize, as to see it clearly. So understand that to know it, as he says, it's a duty of the heart. It's a mindful duty of the heart. Da es Elokevicha. Know God, your God. Okay, continuing with that subject. How do you establish a heartful awareness? And we'll use the word today, hiskashrus, because that's what he's going to be talking about. A visceral and a mindful and a heartful feeling and experience of connection with Hashem. Lessons in Tanya, page 338. Yeah, 338. And then in Likutei Amorim, Page Lamed Beis, speaking of heart, Lamed Beis, in the middle of the page. So we had said yesterday, when a person does the will of Hashem through his avodah b'Torah and mitzvahs, so he has what's called a face-to-face, panim el panim, face-to-face or panemius relationship with Hashem. And at that time, the person who's doing the mitzvah, and Hashem's will establish a unity which is higher than time, deeper than time, above the level of any creation, including the creation of time. Today, we start in the middle, really smack in the middle of the page. The line begins with an abbreviation, v'chulu, and over on the left. Ela shalamata, down here below, utachas hazman, is in the dominion of time. It's lower than time. In other words, it's in the place where time is predominant. So therefore, there are moments down here below, when we can either choose to connect or not to connect with Hashem, and establish or not establish that unity in the Oisa Shah, in that particular moment, Levada, alone. And when is that? When the soul is occupied, the Torah or the mitzvah. When the Torah is occupied in Torah or mitzvah, but of course also learning Torah is a mitzvah. So that connects, as we've said many times, repeated the language of the Rebbe, that mitzvah is lashon savto v'chibur, of connecting. So when one does the mitzvah of learning Torah or any other mitzvah, then one is connected and is unified with the supernal will. But if a person if a person does something else, which is nifred and separates himself from that, and he gives an example, when he occupies himself in things which are utterly batal, but the devorim b'telim, things which are utterly have no place in Torah and mitzvahs, which have no necessity and not required at all for avodas Hashem. This is an interesting perspective, that even the things you do to prepare for a mitzvah, avodas Hashem, that's his language. Anything that you're doing to prepare yourself, your disposition, your mind, your body, your household, etc., earning a living, if you're doing that with a consciousness of doing that to serve Hashem, that's part of L'tzorech Avodas Hashem. So, but anything other than that creates a separation. Nevertheless, when after you do that, those devorim b'telim, something which are utterly batal and have nothing to do with mitzvahs, when you return to Hashem afterwards, the Torah, with the tefillah, the Torah and the davening, Hashem, and you beseech forgiveness from Hashem, given that you were able to involve yourself in Torah, and you didn't get busy with that, Hashem yislach le, Hashem will forgive you. Kamayim Rizal, overall mitzvah, the sages say in the Gemara Yuma, overall mitzvah say, if a person transgresses a positive mitzvah, v'shov, and returns, lezoz mishom ad shemoichlim lai, meaning he's immediately forgiven. And then the relationship, the panemius of your panemius, is connected with him again, and there is this yichud that we spoke about yesterday. And that's why the Chachamim, when they made the order of davening, gave the bircha slach lonu, forgive us, sholish pa'amim b'chol yom, and we say that 3 times a day in Shemon Esrei, al oven bittul Torah. And we say it, he highlights here particularly bittul Torah, because you told us earlier that he said there's no person who isn't free of the neglect of bittul Torah, because there's always a moment that you could be learning, occupied in Torah, and you're not. So 3 times a day, this blessing is said. Sylvia, your hands up.
Yeah, just to note that specifically the mitzvah of Bittul Torah, the Avera of Bittul Torah doesn't apply to women.
It doesn't apply to women, no?
No, it does not.
But and that's interesting because I'm thinking the Torah is not something that's subject to Zman, so I'm not sure why, but if it's true.
It doesn't mean women shouldn't learn Torah, but specifically to the mitzvah of learning Torah as much as possible 24/7 applies to men.
Okay.
And that specifically as a mitzvah, not saying women shouldn't learn, women should learn, but that Bittul Torah, it doesn't specifically doesn't apply to women.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. You're off the hook.
Well, not really. I mean,
not really.
It says you're occupied in Torah or mitzvahs. Mitzvahs apply.
No,
yeah, but here we're speaking.
One of the very
mitzvah. I know the specific mitzvah of Talmud Torah.
A bit, yeah.
Yeah, one of the first mitzvahs, one of the first things I learned back in Chabad House in Berkeley was that what I'm quoting something like men should only know as much as women are obligated to know. So the mitzvah for women is to know Torah. So we have to know. Men have to learn.
Beautiful, beautiful. She'ein Odom. So here we'll take man, but it means person. She'ein Odom nitzol mimenu. No person, but we'll say no man is saved from this because there's always an opportunity. B'chol yoim, each and every day. Ukamei. This is like the Korban Tamid, the continual offering in the temple. Shehoy mechaped al mitzvahs aseh, which atoned on mitzvahs aseh, the mitzvahs that you could have done, should have done, but didn't. Committed an avera, but you neglected them. And this is not in the category, this is another category saying, I will sin and then I'll do shuvah. Because if a person does that, that's not an acceptable path to shuvah, to say, I'm going to sin and then I'll do shuvah. Unless, mamish hu soymech al hat shuvah. Right? If you relied on shuva in the time of doing an avera, that's not going to be acceptable. And if you decided that lokach hoit, for that reason, therefore I've sinned, in order to do the shuva later, that's not acceptable. That will not be forgiven. This is why in Sefer Devorim, Mishnah Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu commanded to the generation that entered the land of Israel to read Torah Krishma twice a day, in order to receive and to take upon themselves the yoke of heaven with Mesiras Nefesh, meaning being completely given over. Didn't Hashem promise to them in the Sefer Devorim? He promised, that Hashem is giving His awesome and His awesomeness and His fearfulness to you. It's a given. So why are we praying for this twice a day? Because Shekiyim haTorah u'mitzvoseh told you bezeh sheyizka tomed inyan mesiras nefesh laHashem. Because the fulfillment of Torah and her mitzvahs depends on this, that we remember continually the notion of giving ourselves over completely to Hashem, al yichudei yisborach, to His unity. Shia kevua beliba. That needs to be fixed in your heart, tamid, mamish, yomim v'layla, daytime and nighttime. Leyomish mizichroine, that it should never be removed from your remembrance. And if one does this, if one reads Krishma morning and night, right? Even though women are not physically tying the tefillin on your hands, but back to our yom with a sense of hiskashrus, with a sense of das, knowing, back to our yom. In other words, tying ourselves to it and feeling it and recognizing it twice a day, If a person does that, the person can stand against one's Yetzer Hara, to be victorious over it continually, each and every moment, as we said above. So this is a simple teaching in avoidance, right? To say, we should take this away with us, the takeaway. That not only that we do say Krishma twice a day, but that we do it to mikasha ourselves, to tie ourselves, and to recognize our in ourselves, and to feel in ourselves the unity of Hashem.
All right. Well,
Yes,
if I may,
of course you may.
thank you. I find this disturbing from the very beginning
What?
because it says levada, like it's only
Alone.
osek b'Torah or mitzvahs. All right, and when he's talking about not devorim to a talim, it's not like just things that are negative. It's just like things that are not related to
Right.
Torah and mitzvahs.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, it's all those times when you just kind of want to space out. You just want to relax and,
But
have to think about everything all the time. Because we do a lot of that. We're very focused, very, but there are moments but so why it disturbs me is that it seems to be a contradiction.
Contradiction.
Yes, to the fact that we're always, it says the unity, you're right? That this actus, right?
This actus, meaning connection with the Ratzon Ha'elyon, with God's supreme will, at his level of will, which is his Kesser, and his an intimate relationship with Hashem. Yes. So let's take going to the beach. Okay.
For instance,
we take going to the beach, for instance, right? There's a subtle but important difference between going to the beach simply for your own pleasure and in order to refresh yourself and be re-energized for avodas Hashem.
Right. Or for Shalom Bayit.
Or for Shalom Bayit. Yeah.
Or for
so does that for me, that begins to unwind that knot that you have. Because really everything that's not prohibited can be done, and he's saying should be done, if you want to keep that conscious connection and perpetual tie to Hashem at his deepest levels, at his Ratzon, should be done with the awareness of doing this as part and parcel of keeping yourself, making yourself available for mitzvahs, Torah and mitzvahs. So you gave good examples. So Shalom Bayis, doing exercise for the sake of what? That's a good one. Exercise for the sake of developing musculature, so I can have my picture on He-Man magazine, or to be strong and to be able to serve Hashem, with vigor.
But does this imply that it requires constant, like I use a term, mindfulness? Does it require conscious contact?
Conscious mindfulness of doing this for preparation for serving Hashem, or yes, mindfulness, yes. That's what we're trying to do here in general. The whole Tanya really is to develop a habit of mindfulness, being focused on, the situations and what can I give to or take from that situation, which will make it part and parcel of the mitzvah system.
On the other hand, it says very clearly that, when I just recognized that I wasn't using my time for Torah and mitzvahs, and I'm asking Hashem to forgive me.
Tshuva. Excellent. All right, you did. But Tshuva will restore it.
So it's not really realistic to keep conscious contact at all.
Yeah, for most people it's not, particularly for me. It's not. But know that there's a pathway back, which is Tshuva. Godel Tshuva, right? Great is Shuvah.
A big gift, big gift.
It's a gift that God gave us because He knows us. Good conversation. Anybody else? So at least we can take away the awareness for the moment that we should look at our next few moments and hopefully the rest of the day as opportunities for bringing forward or strengthening or renewing our connection with Hashem. Till we meet again. Bye-bye.
As it says, Bechol Dorechecha Deho.
Bechol derechecha, bechol yom v'yom.
Amen.